Yo, it's DIY the Grappler back on the scene for another video. So I just want to go ahead and give an update, share some good news, some bad news, some pros, some cons here. Good news is, still here, still alive. Bad news is, when it comes to the dry pour concrete, the way I just did this, when you put the forms on, if you don't edge it, as you pull the forms on, it cracks off little pieces off the top, which isn't the greatest. It's you're like, man, I should edge it, or man, this isn't really, it wasn't cool. So I went ahead and fixed it. I got some mortar mixed. I patched it up. Wasn't too hard. So that's the bad news with it. I actually went ahead and found some more information. I went and dug a little deeper. I'm new with this too, so I'm not here trying to deceive anybody and say, hey, this DIY dry pour, this is the deal. It's all sunshine and rainbows. It's I've been having a great time with it. I understand everything is cool. There's this, there's that, there's two sides of things. But it did pull up. It hasn't cracked. I'm walking on it. It is a little whatever because I've been walking on it and moving on it. But while everybody's doing experiments, I was like, what? Which I love this. This is awesome, because I'm all engulfed in this thing. While everybody's doing experiments, I'm like, what? Let me go and do some research and try to find some information. So, I actually own, mixed martial arts school, like the UFC type stuff. I teach Brazilian jiu-jitsu, judo, wrestling, the whole deal, MMA, that whole deal. And I'm over here thinking about concrete while I'm teaching jiu-jitsu, but, maybe I'm getting a little crazy with this thing. But anyway, so I'm still working on the yard. I'm trying to find some information. So as I'm going, I'm not gonna lie. I got a little, oh man, I pulled off my forms. Little pieces are coming off. I'm like, man, is this dry pour thing is it a really good thing, man, or not? It's because ultimately I want to do a driveway out of it, and I'm like, man, I'm not sure. One of my students, he's a general contractor. I always ask him he's a high level construction guy. I'm always asking him for information. He's like, nah, man, he's giving me positive news. He's like, hey, positive feedback. Nah, this and that, different things. And hey, when we pull concrete out the ground, I'm asking. I'm trying to learn. So I came across some information where. One thing is the water curing, the curing part. So I'm thinking, all right, I'm new with this. So I'm thinking like, okay, we wet it, we cure it, and that's it. We wet it, we keep on wetting it. It soaks all the way through, and then the concrete, the mortar mix gets hard, and we're good to go. But I actually found out it's deeper than that. There's goes further than that. So I had came across the water curing. I'm like, all right, that's what we're doing. Hosing it down, keeping it wet. Then somebody had commented on my on one of my videos, and he was like, hey man, I'm not really doing this, and he gave me all this information about water curing. So I'm like, what, I skimmed by it in the past, but I'm like, let me dig deep into this and look a little bit deeper into this. So what I did was I came across a lot of information where I'm a student of the Think and Grow Rich and The Art of War by Sun Tzu, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And, it's always saying, hey, look at the most successful people in the world and look what they're doing. So what I happened to come across was this water curing, but like how high level construction concrete, people are doing this, where they're building like skyscrapers, foundations, and all this stuff. And they say where a lot of people make a mistake at is they either wet pour or dry pour. Now, mostly even the wet pour part of it. They wet pour it, they finish it, looks great, and then they leave and then leave it alone. Even the wet pour still needs to get watered. There's something called, there's all these different techniques and methods, but there's something called this like burlap. They use burlap to go ahead and put it over the concrete to keep it wet. And what they do is they keep wetting it for like, long time, depending on how big it is. My one of my students, he's a general contractor. He says some things they have to wet for like 2 months, depending on how big it is. So even if it's dry pour or wet pour, it still needs to be wet. So now there's all these methods of how to keep it wet. Because I was thinking, I'm like, okay, let me try to get into this of what exactly is it? Is it the process? Is it the act of mixing it together that makes it stronger? Like, what is making it stronger? Whether it's mixed, whether it's dry poured. Now, don't take my word all the way. I'm still trying to get some more information. But even when it's mixed, with the benefit of when it mixed, all the water is distributed equally. So I'm like, okay, I got that. But is that actually the act of that? Is it actually making the concrete stronger? And it hasn't really said that. So even with the wet pour, what they're saying is a lot of people make a mistake is, like, I'm repeating myself, they pour it and then they just leave it. You're supposed to reach its full potential. I guess close to its full potential, you need to keep on wetting this. Now there's all these different methods. Right here, I'm trying to use this burlap method of like keeping some cloth on it, keeping the cloth wet so it can stay soaked, and it it helps cure and helps it reach its full potential. Now, there's other methods of like ponding where they actually build like these little reservoirs around the concrete, where it's like a little pool, like a little pond, where the water stays on top. It just pooled on top of there for 28 days, 30 days, however they want to do it. And these are like skyscrapers and like big buildings they're doing this to. So I'm like, there's this other method, I forgot what it was, where they mix this and they mix that. I'm not even really getting into it because I don't want to chop it up and mess it up. But where they pretty much just like this, how can I word it? I don't even know. They almost used like the word like a slime or a goo that stays on top of it, holds the moisture in for a long time. So I was thinking, okay, maybe this dry pour thing isn't over. Maybe I don't have to give up on this. And I always felt bad, like, dang, I just, I'm reaching some roadblocks here. My stuff's, popping up. It hasn't cracked or anything, it's still solid. But when I pull up the forms, it's coming off too easy. That's where that compressive strength comes in and the tensile strength comes in, where I'm learning about all this stuff. So with this burlap method, I'm going to go ahead and use it. I'm like, you know what? If they're saying that regular concrete, wet pour concrete only reaches like 50% of its potential if you just go, I didn't even know. It was something around that. You can go and, Google it, where it reaches a small percentage of its potential when you just pour it, wet it, screed it, finish it, trowel it, do the whole deal, and then just leave it. It's still not at its full strength. So I'm thinking like, okay, maybe the dry pour takes a little longer because we're putting it in dry. The wet pour might have a head start. And I'm still, it's all gray area. I'm still, digging deep into this. Maybe the wet pour has a head start because it's already wet, but it's not at its full strength just because it's wet and you put it in there. Maybe the dry pour is, like what is it? I forgot what it was. The rabbit and the turtle. You know what I'm saying? If you guys remember the rabbit and the turtle story of like whatever. So maybe, not even maybe, the dry pour is starting from behind because it's going in dry. But if you're constantly wetting it, if it goes all the way through, wets all the way through, soaks all the way through, that's just a small portion of it. Doesn't mean that it's going to be all the way strong yet. So what I'm trying to do is I'm going to go ahead and push forward with it. I'm going to go ahead and use this burlap, technique. I'm using these towels. My wife's probably going to kill me when she sees these towels. She's like, what the heck? She's already pissed when I'll be like tracking in dirt or whatever. But she's probably going to be pissed because this towel thing. She don't even watch my videos, so maybe she won't even know, if she doesn't go out there. But anyway, so I'm trying to, I'm like, you know what? Let me use this method then. I'm going to use a towel. And it's actually raining, so this is great. It doesn't really rain that much around here. So I'm going to use the towel because it's still only like, I don't know. I did that, last week, so I still got time. I should probably even go ahead and do it on the first slab right there. I'll probably do it. Just go ahead and keep on curing it and increasing the strength. So this is actually increasing the strength when you use these methods. And like I said, if the high level people are using this, like the highest level, if you're building a skyscraper and this is protocol, this is what it is. I'm like, all right, and it is gaining close to its full strength. I'm going to go ahead and do this too. So like I said, maybe the dry pour is starting from behind because it's dry. But now that I'm realizing that, okay, that first day, 2, 3 days, 7 days, that you go ahead and put the slab down, wet or dry, it's not over yet. It still needs to continue to get wet. And I didn't put, all the links and all the chemical reactions, but they're saying that chemical reactions continue. They continue during this water curing time, where it continues to get hard, it continues to cure, and it continues to gain strength way after you poured it in the form, screeded it, troweled it, or whatever, used the roller. So, I mean, you know what? There is some hope, and I'm not here trying to deceive anybody either, so I don't want to be like, hey, this dry pour is what it is. But I'm like, and I almost went the other way a second until I came, it was like a little law of attraction here, until I came across this information where I'm like, you know what? Continue to water it. Continue to find a strategy and a tactic to keep it wet for at least 28 to 30 days. and it's going to reach a high level of strength. Now this is without rebar, this is without like reinforcements. So I'm thinking that, if I do this driveway, possibly, let's see, I do this driveway and I make it 6 inches and I put rebar or the mesh wire or however route I want to go, I compact it, I do the thing, I use the water curing for the 28, 30 days, use the burlap method, maybe if I could figure out how to do this ponding method. And there's other methods also to keep it wet. So yeah, that's my little video for the day. Maybe it's a little nerdy or, boring information wise. I'm over here, watering it, thinking I'm looking cool, which I'm probably looking like this, but it's all good. You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting here having fun, enjoying it. It's not that big a deal. I get good comments, the bad comments. I welcome them all. It's all good. Some people take it a little bit more personal where they're like, hey, check this out. Like, man, that's just inferior. I'm like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, cool. Maybe you're right. I don't even know. I'm thinking this, like, one, I'm not standing on a marshmallow. Like, it is hard. You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting here jumping on it, doing, Two, I'm thinking, look, maybe it's, if it was wood, the dry pour concrete I'm standing on right now, dry pour concrete / mortar that I'm standing on right now is way harder than wood. So as a base and something to stand on, it's not really that weak when it comes to that. I understand, you need to be here to see it, and I do see some people's, you know what I'm saying? I do see some people's, maybe this will help them out, where if you can make it stronger and not, it's not cracking, it's not crumbling, it's, there is a process to make it stronger. We don't, I'm realizing you don't just want to do it 24 hours, boom, we're good to go. So with this information, it takes a lot longer. So if you really want it to be strong, go ahead and keep wetting it. Go ahead and try to use this burlap method. Maybe if you ain't got the burlap, I don't have it, some towels, wet it, keep it wet, let it have its chemical reaction, let it get strong as possible. And maybe this dry pour thing can be a thing. Maybe it can reach the same strength, maybe more. I wonder if you make you make a wet pour concrete, you do it, screed it, trowel it, finish it, mag float it, the whole deal. And then you just leave it alone. And then you make a dry pour. And what you do is you cure it. You burlap cure it for 20, 30 days. You do everything. You compress it. You do the whole deal. Make sure all the air pockets are out. Make sure all the voids are out. Do the proper curing process. Not just like I did it and then it's done. The proper curing process. And then I wonder which one would be stronger. I don't know. Maybe I'll probably do this. But hopefully this video helps somebody out. Helps some people out. It is, a little long and, whatever's clever. I'm just having fun. So I will be making some more slabs coming up here soon. Probably, I'm planning this weekend. So, all right, bada bing, bada boom. Have a great day. Peace.